Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prose podcast. I'm your host, Tally Shamus, and today I'm joined by debut author Grace Morrow to talk about the rise of horror romantasy. Grace Morrow is an author of magic, mayhem, and mischief. As an art historian, her goal is to inspire the same feelings one might associate when looking at a particular piece of art and integrating that feeling into her books. A true Californian, she lives with her husband and 2 unruly cats. When she isn't writing, you can find her binge-watching the latest trash reality TV show, working with an academic support program, or trying to keep alive her many, many succulents. So, Grace, why don't you start by telling us about your writing journey?
So my writing journey has been absolutely bonkers. I actually started trying to get traditionally published in 2022. I'd written a couple other books at the beginning of the pandemic, which I think a lot of us found solace in trying to uh, do something creative while we were on lockdown. So I had been on Wattpad for a while, actually writing my stories. And then I was like, you know what? 2022 hit. I'm going to try to actually query one of my books. So I started querying. I had no idea what I was doing. I did a lot of just Google research to try to figure out what was going on. I didn't know there was a big book community on Twitter/X at the time, although it was Twitter at the time. And so I queried my first book. It was an adult fantasy. And I queried that for about 10 months, and my request rate was not that great. I think I had like a 6%, again, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what a good query package looked like. And then about 10 months in, I got a message from an agent who wanted to meet and talk to me. And I was really, really excited. So I met with this agent, and they actually had a different manuscript of mine at the time, because I was starting to query 2 books at the same time because I was impatient. And she was like, I'm really thinking about the first manuscript you sent me. I want to know if it's still available. I was really, really excited about it. She did have some edits on it, so I was like, okay, like that's fine. And so she basically was like, you know what, pending your approval with the edits, we'll get you on board. So I did the whole thing. I nudged all the agents, and then 4 weeks went by, and I got an email saying that the edits were too much, that this was actually an R&R. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to put this book to the side, and I'm going to try something new. So I put fantasy to the side. I actually wrote an adult rom-com. And I think this is like the year of 2023 was when I was querying my adult rom-com. So I started querying that. I had a lot more community help from everyone on Twitter. I did a lot of pitch events. So I felt good with my query package. I queried that rom-com, and I think I actually had only queried it maybe a couple months. And then I got a like during a pitch event, Joy Pit, actually, from an agent who wanted to see it. And then a few days later, I got the email saying, we want to talk. And then I got an offer from this agent, which was great. And then the day after I signed with that agent, the agency blew up internally. And my agent left. And we both just completely, like, I don't know, voided our contract. Like, it was like put in our 30-day contract. Um, and it was really crazy. I knew going into it that this agency was a schmagency. There were so many red flags, but I really liked the agent that offered me rep. So I was like, you know what? I'm in good hands with her. Please don't do that for anyone listening. Like, if there's red flags, I know it's hard. I know you're desperate. I know you're at your wit's end. I promise you, it's not worth it. Like, it's not. So yeah, the day after I signed, the head agent at this agency went on Twitter, and there was just this huge, big blow up mess. It was awful. So my agent left. She took me and her other client with me. She actually did not end up finding a home. So I was back in the query trenches for the 3rd time with a completely new book. I wrote a YA fantasy, and I kind of took a little bit of a break at the end of 2023 because of how bad everything had been. So I took my time writing this YA fantasy at the end of 2023. And then the beginning of 2024, I was still writing it, and Pitch Quest happened. And I got a like from an agent who was one of my dream agents on my list. And my manuscript wasn't done, but I noticed that she was closing to queries in like 2 weeks. And so I was like, you know what? Screw this. So I ended up writing the rest. It was only like 30K into this YA fantasy. I wrote the rest of my YA fantasy, I think, in 4 days. I wrote like over 50,000 words to try to get it done so I could submit to her before she closed. Um, she ended up closing, so that was, I didn't quite meet when I needed to send it to her. But that year, which was 2024, was a leap year. And so there was this random pitch event on Twitter called Leap Pit. Somebody randomly started it, and she liked my post again. And so I don't know if I sent her a DM or she sent me a DM, but I was like, hey, I know you just closed, but I know you liked this during Quest Pit. I know you liked this during Leap Pit. And she's like, yeah, send me the first 3 chapters. And so I did. And then I think it was 13 days later, I got an offer of rep for my YA fantasy with my now agent, Grace Morrow at Looking Glass Literary and Media. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, to say the least.
Wow. That is a journey. Oh my gosh. So it took you over 2 years.
Yeah, I would say like 2.5 years, because I think I sent my first ever query. I remember it. It was like January 6th, 2022. And then January 6th or 8th, I don't know which one, but it was beginning of January. And then April 1st of last year is when I signed with my now agent.
Yeah. Wow. That's exciting. Congratulations. Very
Thank
belated.
you.
We know you're far past there now, but what was your offer period like? I know you had mentioned it was a little bit stressful, so maybe we can chat about that a bit.
Yeah, so I had 2 offers of rep. So with the first offer of rep for my adult rom-com, I did push out the timeline a little bit more because I was unsure about the agency. So I think I gave agents about a 3-week deadline. I got a lot of requests for that book, but I only had the one offer of rep. And then for this, the YA fantasy, A Game of Sinners and Saints, I I think I did a 2.5 or 2-week one because I already knew I really liked Grace. We both had the same name, so it's a little crazy in our emails. But I already knew I really liked Grace a lot. And so I was like, you know what? I'm okay giving a shorter deadline. So that one was also really stressful because obviously you still want to try to get as many offers of rep as you can.
Mhm.
But when I queried my YA, I was very, very particular about who I sent it to because in the past
Right.
I would send to like 100 and something agents. If they vaguely mentioned they like fantasy, if they vaguely mentioned they like rom-coms, I'd be like, I'm gonna just send it out. When I queried my YA, I was super, super picky. So I think in total, I only sent to about 25 agents who I knew if any of them offered, I would be okay accepting. And Grace
Right.
was obviously one of them. So that one, I didn't get another offer. I only had her. I was 100% okay with that. I was ecstatic about that. Because again, at the end of the day, I was so selective with who I picked that I was like, if anybody passes, it's okay because I still have my champion.
Right.
So it was stressful, but I also felt good. Everything has led me to this point, so I'm okay. No matter what,
Yeah.
it'll be okay.
No, for sure. And I can totally relate to that. That's actually how I felt about the book that got me my agent. So the previous one, I had queried very broadly also. Anyone that wanted romance of any kind, fantasy of any kind, like take it, just take it. But yeah, with the second one, I was very selective and basically
Yeah,
only sent it out to agents who I actually felt like I would accept an offer from because otherwise, what's the point, right? I mean,
yeah.
querying is tough, but I want to talk about We Become Darkness, though. That's very
Yeah.
exciting. So, how did you go from your previous books to We Become Darkness? How did you get here?
Okay, so when I signed with my agent in April of 2024, we were working on a bunch of different projects. I have a lot of books already written because I had my time in Wattpad era cringe. I deleted my account. You cannot find me. Don't try to find me. It's not there.
Oh, no.
I had Wattpad books that I had worked on. I had all these querying books I had worked on because I queried multiple projects in between trying to get agents. So what my agent and I did is we worked on multiple things, obviously. We Become Darkness is actually a book that I got the idea for in 2022. I think it was summer of 2022. It had a completely different name. I was like something stupid, like We All Fall or something. It was like in first person, different side characters. But my idea for it and the opening of my story has always remained the same. I've always had a super clear vision of what the beginning and opening of the story is going to look like. So when my agent and I were kind of working on things and pulling up different projects and seeing what would be great on sub, I had mentioned I had a vampire book and I had started it a long time ago. It was really bad right then. I needed a lot of work. I think I only had the first 3 chapters written. And my agent was like, you know what? Vampires are on the rise. We need to jump on this as soon as possible. So I was like, okay, great. So over the summer of 2024, I wrote We Become Darkness. I think I gave it to my editor for our first edit round. I want to say like September or October of 2024. We worked on it for about 3 months, just doing some revisions. I'm somebody who every single book I've ever written, I've always had to redo like the first quarter of it. I don't know why. The first quarter is such a struggle for me. But so we revamped, we rearranged, we rewrote, did that for about 3 months. And then my agent put it on submission at the beginning of January of this year. And we sent to a handful of editors and we got an offer in 5 weeks from when we had put it out.
That's amazing. Now, congratulations.
Thank you.
Less belated.
Yeah. Thanks.
So you mentioned working with an editor. So that's separate from your editor for the
Yes.
publication. So is this somebody that is external to your agent that you pay to review your work?
Sorry, that was me saying I sent it to my agent and then we edited it and then we sent it to on submission.
Okay. Oh, okay. So what does that process look like with your agent? Is she quite editorial?
She is. She's very editorial, which I actually really like. I do also have like beta readers, like one of my good friends, Taylor Epperson, shout out to her. Her adult cozy rom-com fantasy, Second Time's a Charm, comes out a month after mine. So check out that as well. But I usually send my work to her after Grace and I edit together. And she's really good about, Grace, my agent, is really good about like structure and making sure things are really snappy, and the pacing's really tight. That is an area that I definitely struggle with, is pacing. And so I think that's also why I have to rewrite the beginning so much, because Grace is really good about saying like, you know what, by this page, we need this to happen because this is going to be a great point for editors who will want to keep reading. So it's always been great working with her, and just having that extra insight of like, these are areas you need to tweak. This is how we can do it. You know, let me know if you need more help. And I appreciate that, because sometimes you'll get feedback and it's like, fix this. And then it's like, okay, but I don't know how. Like, there's a reason that like I did it this way. But she's really good about giving those solutions of being like, you know what, this is what I think. What do you think? If you don't like what I think, let's talk about it and let's come up with something that works then for this.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, and the title change too, We Become Darkness, is fantastic. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I
Thank
want
you.
to ask you about your experience on submission, but why don't you tell us a bit more about what We Become Darkness is about first?
Okay, so I'm going to read the little blurb that we have, or that I wrote. It's like a quick little thing, but just so that way you understand what this is, and I get the hype for everyone listening. So, We Become Darkness is a gothic romantasy which follows a human princess, Thalia, who spent the last 4 years hunting her ex-lover turned vampire, Cassius, who betrayed her and her kingdom to become the very monster she swore to destroy. When the lifeblood of her city is threatened, she must marry a vampire prince to ensure the safety of her realm. To save her people, she agrees to the marriage, but plans to dismantle the vampire kingdom from within by killing the prince. The vampire courts are rife with danger and secrets, and Cassius is always watching. When a monstrous new threat emerges, Thalia realizes the safety and security of their world is far more fragile than she ever believed. I had this idea of it being kind of this lovers to enemies. So Thalia and Cassius have a very long history of kind of being these childhood lovers. They've been at each other's side for so many years. Thalia has a vendetta against the vampires in her world because they actually murdered her father, who was the king, and her sister in a previous marriage deal. So she's been on this hunt to get revenge for like 13 years. And then Cassius betrays her to become this vampire. She's like, what the heck? Like, what did you do? Why'd you do this to me? So the plot kind of opens with her trying to find him and trying to seek revenge on him because he's this person who's promised to be by her side and to fight these creatures that she's sworn to destroy, only to become one in the end. And so if you like that, if you like Marriage of Convenience, if you like sexy blood time, there's some fun little scenes because obviously it's vampires. There's sentient forests. There's very heavy gothic tropes in this novel. So we've been comping it as Nosferatu paired with The Serpents and the Wings of Night by Clarissa Broadbent. So if you like those, check it out.
I was going to say, actually, so Serpent in the Wings of the Night is actually one of my favorite books. And I was like, oh, this is so giving. Exactly that.
Yeah.
I love it. I need to read this. Oh my gosh, it sounds so good. So tell me about your experience being on sub with it.
Being on sub with it was fun. It was actually weird because it was pretty silent. Sub is different for every single person. There's people who get offers within 24 hours. There's people who get offers a year and a half in. So I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously I have friends who've been on sub, but again, everyone is different. I've had friends sell in 3 weeks. I've had friends sell in 6 months. So it's like, it just is all just kind of luck and the market at the time. So I didn't really have a lot of expectations. The editor that ended up offering, she actually had expressed interest already because she was looking for a vampire novel. So I think we just happened to send it out at the right time. So yeah, it was pretty silent for about 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden we got the offer, and then it was like, oh, here we are. And then it was just a mad rush of like my agent nudging editors and then trying to get all this other stuff. So there's a lot of things on sub, like behind scenes, that I don't think a lot of people talk about because it's like, you don't know. Like, once you get an offer from an editor, what happens? And it's like, well, your agent then tells editors there's interest, and they don't even have to say who's offered. It's just simply like, we have an offer, do what you need to do. And then if they like it, then they read it, and then they have to take it to second reads, which is them going internal and having to get the entire, team of that imprint or whatever, some different imprints do different things, to agree, and then they might send an offer. So it's a lot of different craziness that goes into submission. But I will say it was very calm before the storm hit.
Okay. So I guess starting from the beginning, so you finished all of your rounds of edits, and then your agent said, okay, we're ready to go on submission. So did you work on your submission package, your pitch, your editor list together, or did your agent kind of take ownership of that?
Yeah, so what we ended up doing is I actually personally created a pitch deck.
Ooh.
Some agents do this like already, others don't. It just depends on the preference. I really like the idea of a pitch deck, and what a pitch deck is simply just like, it almost looks like a PowerPoint, and it'll just short little blurs of like, this is what the book is, this is who the author is, this is the aesthetics of it, and so just kind of gives a visual for what that book looks like. And I'm a visual person, so I'm like, I want to make a really cool looking like PowerPoint thing for my book. So what her and I did was, when we were all done with edits and I sent it over, she asked me to send over a pitch, which was basically like a query letter, which kind of sucks because you're like, I have an agent. Why am I still writing query letters? Well, you kind of do because they need that because that's the pitch they send
Yeah.
or take. So I kind of wrote this like query letter like thing for We Become Darkness. I sent it to my agent. She made tweaks on it. And then she sent that, which is again kind of just like a basic query letter with the pitch deck attached to editors. And usually my agent, what she does is she sends the whole manuscript with them. So that way editors aren't having to take time to request. Some do say like have different rules. Like my editor who offered on We Become Darkness, they like it when it's only the first 3 chapters. And then if they want more, they request. So every editor is different, but usually full manuscript is attached and is sent out. My agent also has me go through my social media and especially on Twitter if there's pitch events to see what editors have liked. So that way when we send to them, my agent can already be like, hey, you liked Grace's tweet on this day. Here's the pitch, here's everything attached to it. And so we'll work together on that. So I'll send her a list of names. She has the names already. She's very good about meeting with all these editors beforehand, making sure that she's reaching out to them to just so that there's no like waste of time, right? Like making sure like what they're asking on their manuscript wish list is actually what they want. So she'll meet prior before we send it out on submission to kind of build those connections and then she sends everything out.
Oh, that's awesome. Sounds like you had a pretty smooth experience. I mean, 5 weeks to me doesn't sound like long at all.
Yeah, it was really quick compared to other people's journeys that I've heard of. I wish I had better advice to people because I've had, authors be like, what was your submission like? And it's like, well, it just depends. Like, there's books that I'm sure of mine that will be on submission for a while. I've heard stories of authors who've sold really fast their first book, but then their second book on sub takes a year. So
Right.
it's like it's so just up in the air with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and when does We Become Darkness come out?
It comes out March 10th, 2026 with Alcove Press. You can find it at any major book distribution. It's actually distributed through Penguin Random House. So if you Google me on Penguin Random House, it'll pop up with a bunch of links to where you can buy it. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, Walmart. I'm also paired with a bunch of indie campaigns. So
Oh.
uh, indie stores, New Romantics, Little Book, The Enchanted Raven Bookshop, and then my hometown indie, Jade by the Cover. So if you also want to get some signed, personalized, and exclusive goodies, check those out. And I also believe you can buy it internationally. I was actually just searching the other day, and it's on Indigo if you're in Canada, Waterstones if you're in the UK. So if you want to buy those online, buy it online. Yay.
That's fantastic. Yay. So, what has marketing been like? Have you been doing any of your own marketing or is it primarily the publisher?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of my own marketing. Obviously you do both, right? Like you
Yeah.
have your marketing team with your publisher and they've been great. I've absolutely loved working with them. They've been super supportive. Again, every imprint is different. I've heard some imprints at like big 5 places that give no marketing. So it's like
Wow.
I've been really lucky to be with a press who is very on top of their marketing. But also, even if you have a book deal, you still have to market, which, surprise, I was like, I thought I got an agent and was traditionally published. I didn't have to do all this. This is a lie. Any author will tell you this is a lie. So I've been doing a lot of the marketing myself. Social media has been great to do that. I've also been the one doing the reach out to the indie stores and trying to create a book tour and all of that,
Oh.
which is stressful, but it's also very good. And you learn a lot of valuable skills with having to put yourself out there because at the end of the day, that, cheesy saying of like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But it's true. Like,
Yeah.
it really is. Um, I've gotten really great author blurbs as well. So that's something that,
Oh.
I did. If I knew somebody personally, I reached out. But then also my marketing team obviously had a big list that they sent out. And we got a lot of great author blurbs too. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's also really cool to see like all of it being paid off of like, oh wow, this author who I didn't think would ever agree to blurb, or like this indie store who I've absolutely loved has agreed to host me for a launch. Like it's been really, really cool to kind of watch all of that play out.
That
But yeah,
is so
get good at
exciting.
Canva. To anyone listening, authors, get good at Canva. You don't have to buy the pro version unless you want to, but you'll need it. I love Canva. Shout out to them.
Seriously, Canva's fantastic, okay? I never thought of myself as someone that was, like, good at design, but
Yeah.
Canva, that's it.
I'm like, that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, you don't even have to be good because they have templates already. Just plug in your information on the templates, switch out a picture if you need to, but like, it'll save your butt. It really will.
Right? Oh my gosh. Okay, so before we dive into the subject matter, horror romantasy, do you have
Yes.
any tips for writers at any point of their journey, querying, on sub, getting their book out there, anything at all?
Mm. I think a lot of authors would agree. Hopefully, find your people. Querying can be very hard, especially I feel like in today's climate, it's very different from when I was querying even a year or so ago. There's a lot of new agents. There's a lot of authors getting offers of rep. It feels like every other day. You're like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
right?
So protect your peace. Do your research. Query Tracker is a great resource. I absolutely loved it. It is 100% worth. I think it's like $25 a
Oh,
year,
yeah,
I want
for
to say.
sure.
So like if you're able to get Query Tracker, and then more so on submission. Submission is also very, very hard and very, very isolating. I take rejection very good because I understand it's subjective and all of that. So querying, I never got upset when I got rejections. But with sub, whew, it's rough. It is rough. You're going to see people get better deals than you. You're going to see people get all these exclusive things, and it's going to be hard. But that doesn't equate to your worth as an author and as a writer.
For sure.
So protect your peace, find your people. My biggest advice for people or for authors on sub, find something that's not related to books to pick up as a hobby, to distress. I started crocheting because I was like, I can't do this. I need something to take my mind off of it. I also recommend finding people outside of the community who you can go to, because again, community is great in the book world, but you're also all kind of competing for the same things at the end of the day because there's only so many editors you can send to. So find that one friend who doesn't have anything to do with the book community that you can go to. And yeah, just protect your peace is what I
Oh.
would say. It's hard to do if you're nosy like me and want to know everything all the time. But I promise it's worth it to take a step back, get off social media, get off discords, and just focus on other things. Find new creative outlets to get your mind off of it.
For sure, for sure. Such good advice. Okay, let's get into horror romantasy. So, it is such a rising genre. Like,
Yeah.
genre blends in general are super popular right now, but especially horror and all of the subgenres like gothic horror, horror fantasy, horror romantasy. So, what
Yeah.
do you think is in the future for this, for future romance fantasy books in general?
Ooh, I think the appeal of horror romantasy, well, at least for me, is this idea of though that person just being completely obsessed with you to a point of horror where it's like this is like too much. Like if you think of like Nosferatu, right? And the relationship there, it's like this monster is so completely obsessed with this woman
Yeah.
to a point of horror. So I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to start seeing things kind of slip into more of this like monster-esque romance. I
Mm,
know there's already monster romance, right? But I think we're going to see more of this like the horror and gore aspect of these romances that these characters are kind of living out. Um because yeah, there is a really big rise in horror in general, but I also think it brings a new take with romantasy because we've seen romantasy on Book Talk. It's the same old shadow daddy paired
yeah.
with this waif like girl who's like, I didn't know I can't be a human in these worlds. Nothing wrong with that. I eat those books up. Those are what I read all the time. So like, no hate to that. But I think horror romantasy adds a nice, fresh take to Romantasy because it is a different dynamic between the characters, the main characters, and whatever romance is there. It's not
Right.
this like, oh, I'll burn the world for you, just tell me. It's like, no, I will destroy everything and destroy us in the process to be with you.
Yeah, for sure. And so you talk about like this obsession kind of horror. There's so many different types of horror, thinking of
Yeah.
body horror, like the classic
Yeah.
slashers or anything like that. Do you have any of those elements in your books?
Mine is more like Eldritch horror, I would say. I probably didn't say that right. Eldritch? I think it's
Eldritch?
Eldritch. Yeah, Eldritch. I'm like, whatever that word is. Um, where it's these creatures that are just so grotesque, and not just the vampires. My vampires are not Sparkly Edward. They're not like, ooh,
Oh, Edward.
he's beautiful. Again, nothing wrong with that. I love those vampires. But mine definitely lean more into the grotesque creatures that are common back when, like, obviously vampires first emerged in literature.
Right.
But there's also these other creatures that are in this world that are extremely terrifying and grotesque and should not exist. Like, they were not made to exist, yet here they are. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Obviously, there is, I don't know if it's considered body horror. I don't know. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. It's really funny. I was talking to my friends the other day because I'm not a horror person. I hate watching horror movies. I
What?
absolutely cannot watch a horror movie. But writing it is so much fun for me. And it like truly like, and obviously writing and reading are different than watching a movie, but like it truly is like just as, I feel like there's more you can tell with horror, like as a story, because
Right.
there's so many layers to it.
For sure.
So obviously I do have like a spooky castle, right? We have like these like crazy nightmares, these creatures that shouldn't exist. It's been really interesting to write as someone who doesn't like horror or watching horror at least to be like, how can I scare myself and my readers?
Yeah, that's the tough part. It's like, genres like horror or comedy where you have to elicit really strong emotions from your reader.
Yeah.
That's a challenge, but I mean, also horror is great for upping the tension. So that's a
Yeah.
good way. You keep your plot
Yeah,
going.
it's been fun too because obviously you're having to balance the horror which adds tension, but then also the romance that adds tension. And so
Mhm.
you have to combine those elements where it makes sense. But like I said, it's been a lot of fun to write, and the best comments I've gotten have been from readers who are like, "Yeah, that was really creepy, that scene. Like, I did not like that." So I was like, "Oh, okay." But there's also try not to get into too many spoilers, but there's also, creatures that cause madness. And what does that look like when it's being played out on page?
Yeah,
And kind of like, I don't know if you've seen The Ring or know what The Ring is, but kind
yeah,
of those famous scenes that you think of,
yeah,
kind of like, what does that look like?
yeah,
So
yeah. So
yeah.
unlike you, I am a big fan of horror movies. So I have probably seen everyone you could think of. But oh my gosh, I am dying to read When Become Darkness now. Okay, well, let's talk more about vampires. So we've touched
Yes.
on my boy Edward.
Yes. We
Like,
still love you, Edward. We still love you because he
so
also
many
had
years
this weird
later.
obsession, right?
Yeah.
It's all good.
But now you mentioned we're in this kind of new wave of vampires, and I think we
Yes.
see that even in Serpent and the Wings of the Night.
Mm,
We see the creepier
yeah.
monsters. And so do you think that we're kind of still at the cusp of this trend? How do you see this playing out?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like we're at a high right now with vampire stories, and I know like
Mhm.
mine isn't the only vampire story coming out next year. I know like Kelly Andrew is having a vampire book come out next year. So I think we're still at the cusp, but I think we're starting to kind of go back to those like Edward the Twilight era, right? Where it's more of like this. I know Twilight's not dark academia, right? But it's more of like this paranormal type of a
Yeah.
vampire story as opposed to kind of like a true vampiric literature book, right?
Mhm.
There's also an upswing in werewolves too. Like we have a lot
Mm.
of werewolf whatever you want to, whatever the plural for that is, coming out. And I know a lot of authors who are writing those types of books. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to start shifting more back into like paranormal type stories that we're going to see come out of this in the coming years. I will say there are no werewolves and We Become Darkness. There are other things because I didn't want to be just like vampires and werewolves. So there's other things that are in replace of werewolves.
Yeah.
No Jacobs. Sorry. I
No
am Team
Jacobs?
Jacob though.
Oh,
I'm
are you?
sorry.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
am Team Jacob,
You can
but
have Jacob. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
there's no where the hell have you been, Locas, in in We Become Darkness.
I love that. But there are spicy scenes.
There are spicy scenes. I was like, one, parents, you're not allowed to read this. Please buy it. Support me. You're not allowed to read this.
I know, same.
Yeah, but yes, I would say it's like I was asking one of my writing groups this question because I was like, what would you rate this as? Probably like a 3.5 to 4 out of 5 for spiciness. There is one scene that is crazy, that I absolutely adore. And it was one of the first scenes that I was like, I need to write this. I don't care what anyone says. So there is spice. I think it's balanced kind of throughout. It's like obviously not insta lust, right? It's not like you're gonna have this page one. There is a bit of a slow burn because they're trying to rebuild everything that was broken between them. And do they? We don't know. You'll have to read it.
Ooh, exciting. And so are your spicy scenes open door?
Yes, absolutely. All open door spice for me, please.
Yeah. Let's talk
Uh,
about female agency then through open door
Ye-
scenes.
yes. So I am someone who grew up in a very conservative and Christian household. I grew up around purity culture, and I have a lot of trauma from the effects of purity culture and what that does to a woman's agency, what that does to your own body image.
Mhm.
So for me, writing these open door scenes is such a kind of soothing and healing way to reclaim my agency as a woman because we have been taught, and I say we, I mean these women who've grown up kind of in similar backgrounds, and even I think in today's society, regardless of how you grew up, that a woman's pleasure is kind of something you don't talk about, right?
Mhm.
You don't talk about sex. You basically should be shamed if you are someone who is sexually promiscuous, like you're a slut, you're whatever, if you enjoy sex. And so I wanted to find a place for myself that I could reclaim, all of the agency that I didn't have. Um, and also just show other readers that it's okay to like want to have sex and to want to feel good and to want to, talk about it or explore or find new fun things to do with your partner or whatever it might be. So that has been great. Don't know what it's gonna be like for all my conservative friends and family. Love you all, but come on, guys, sex happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I think for me, not only has it been healing to write those open door scenes and to really accept that it's okay that we talk about this, that women are okay to have pleasure and to seek pleasure and to feel good about themselves. um but also I think for my characters too, the scenes that happen in the story are very healing for them as well. But I do think women can do whatever they want and we shouldn't have to uh explain ourselves or why we like sex, and we shouldn't be labeled as sluts or whatever because we do. And
Yeah.
it shouldn't be such a taboo topic to talk about.
For sure. For sure. And books that have sex scenes in them shouldn't be seen as lesser than,
Oh
ones
yeah,
that don't.
it shouldn't be just like, oh, you're just reading a smutty book. Like, why are you?
Exactly.
I've gotten a lot of like, oh, so you just read porn? No, no, I don't. But thanks for thinking that, I guess. So that's also something too that I'm constantly, and I've had conversations with this with family of like, what I'm writing is there's a reason for it. And the reason isn't, and even if that reason is because I want to, like, that's okay. Like, there's reasons I write it because it fits the storyline, but also because I want it. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to
Yeah.
want it.
Exactly. For sure. 100%. And so we've talked a little bit about how your life influences your writing.
Yeah.
How has your schooling and your degrees influenced your writing? Do you find that you go back to them or you refer to lessons that you learned?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those listening, I'm getting my master's degree in art history. I actually graduate this fall. I turn in my thesis in like
Oh,
2 weeks, which is
congratulations.
crazy. Thank
Oh my
you.
gosh. What's your thesis?
Uh, my thesis is on the pre-Raphaelite movement, and it's titled "Are We Not Beautiful?" And then the beautiful is crossed out and it says enough. And then it's reclaiming female agency of the pre-Raphaelites. So
Oh, I
it
love that.
looks, yeah, it looks into the lesser known female artists of this movement and how they as women were reclaiming their female agency in Victorian England, in the London area in a male dominated movement. I absolutely love art history. I've always been someone who's been drawn to art and has been really creative. So for me, I love trying to put in art history into my books. So, and We Become Darkness, it is Gothic. And I know when we say Gothic, we think of like Wuthering Heights and Nosferatu, where it's more of like this, early 1900s type era. But I'm going like Gothic, like pre-Italian Renaissance Gothic architecture. Think of the Cathedral in Milan and those type of structures. So I absolutely love pulling from art history. In We Become Darkness, there are vampire courts, and that was inspired by the Italian city states during this kind of Gothic and Renaissance era, where they're ruled by really powerful families and powerful dynasties. And so you'll see a lot of things that allude to art history in my work. I'm also someone who, like, if I look at a painting, I want my story to evoke those same emotions one might feel if they're looking at a particular piece of artwork. I think it's just a great way too, if I'm struggling with descriptions, even of like, I don't know how to describe what this building looks like or what, the interior of this look is looking. I'll go and look at buildings and architecture or work and be like, okay, I'm just going to describe everything that I see and then tweak it to, make sense. So that has been a lot of fun. And I definitely want to do more books about art history, and having more overt, art historical references. But I will say We Become Darkness has quite a bit of Gothic and Italian Renaissance inspired um, things in it.
I love that. I love that so much. My debut is a gothic fantasy about an art competition. And they
Mm,
use blood magic to make their
mm,
paintings have effects
I
on the
love
real
that.
world. And then my previous book that died on while querying, my main character was studying architecture. And so I
Oh,
had a
I love
lot of
that.
focus on that too. So it sounds like we have a lot of
Yeah,
overlap.
I love that. Yeah, it's so much fun. I definitely want to find more. I have a work in progress that is an art book and has art based magic in it, which I absolutely love. Um, but I definitely think that, when I tell people I'm an art historian or I have my degree in art history, I get such weird looks. Like, I feel like it's not such a common thing to talk about because it's like it's history, but it's art
Yeah.
adjacent. So I just also like just kind of bringing more awareness of like, this is why we view the world. You can tell so much about a culture or a political movement or religion through artwork. And like,
For
we need
sure.
to be paying attention to that. So I think that's also great because in my book, when you read and you read these descriptions, they're there for a reason. Like, they have a purpose and a meaning. It's not just, oh, that's a pretty building. Like, no, the
Yeah.
building looks like this because of this, this, and this.
Yeah, I love that. Now, in terms of politics, you touched on your vampire courts. So, can you take us through your world building process a little bit and how you build a convincing world with your, you mentioned religious, political systems?
Yeah. I have always done world building. I kind of start with, and I think it's just my own background, is like the religion of the world, because I think, unfortunately, religion can dictate politics. It shouldn't, right? It should not, but it can. So I kind of start there and then branch out. Like, if it is religious, how are these religions, how are these politics being influenced? And my YA fantasy, that is very much religion is the leading factor for my politics. And We Become Darkness, there's not really a religion. It's just kind of like they talk about old gods, don't really talk about a religion. So what does the politics then look like? How are the morals and the way this person leads, what is it being dictated by? Is it because
Yeah.
this, realm has always been this upright kingdom? And are they, I need to be morally good. I need to make sure my people are taken care of. And then from there, you can kind of branch into like, okay, is it more of like one person is ruling, or do we have like a democracy? Or is it like we have a king and a queen, but then there's these little lords and ladies who also kind of help out? So with We Become Darkness, there's not really a religion. The other thing too is magic tied into the politics. So like if you're writing fantasy, are the people in charge, do they have magic? If they don't, how are these magical people, what do they pose a threat to a kingdom? And usually you'll see a lot of tropes in books, like if this one person has magic and they're not supposed to, these people in charge are after them because they're not supposed to have magic. So that's kind of with We Become Darkness. I really focused on kind of who was in charge, what did they believe was right, what are the rules that they live by, how are they controlling their realm, and then magic plays a role, but it's not a huge role. So humans don't have it, but what does that look like in the vampire realm? Because obviously there's completely different, the way humans are running their realm is different than the way the vampires are running the realm. And then I had talked about obviously this vampire kingdom. We have a prince who kind of oversees everything, but then we have these courts that are from very powerful families. And then a couple other magical things in there that you'll read about, and it'll be fun to see.
That is so fascinating. How do you keep track of all of the parts of your world? Do you do like sticky notes? Do you do it all virtually?
I usually do it virtually. I've actually gotten a lot better with my world building. This is something my agent has worked with me on a lot and has sent me a lot of resources. I'm definitely someone who kind of does like a flow chart. So for We Become Darkness, I did like a flow chart on Canva, like a Canva whiteboard. That way I could track like what everything was going on. Sometimes it's just me putting in notes in a Word doc and being like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then figuring out along the way. But flowcharts are great if it's physical or just virtual, just having kind of that starting point of like, do you have deities? If so,
Yeah.
this is the trickle down from how these deities control everything else in the world.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. That sounds like a really good flowchart. Scrivener is also great, I've found for myself, because I
Yeah.
have such a hard time just keeping everything together,
Yeah.
um, physically and mentally. No, I'm joking.
I feel it. I'm like, why do I have this random note? I'll take notes as I'm writing too, and then I'll go back to it and be like, what am I even talking about? Like, why did okay.
Yeah. No, but it's so important. And world building, I mean, it influences everything, right? Like if you have a very
Yeah.
religious world, that's going to
Yeah.
influence your architecture. You're going to have the higher
Absolutely.
buildings that reach for the sky. And it's
Yep.
just, it's so important. It's really crucial. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was so great. I just want to finish up by asking you, what are some of your favorite parts of We Become Darkness?
Everything. No. I think my favorite parts are kind of at the beginning, because this is where we're seeing Thalia and Cassius. They haven't seen each other in 4 years. She has been trying to kill him for 4 years. So there's a lot of scenes that she and him are clashing really bad. They also have to share one bed because it's a marriage of convenience, but
Mhm.
Cassius actually steps in as proxy because the vampire prince is not present. So they're having to do proxy type roles. So there's a lot of scenes of them in the bedroom where they're clashing, and there's a lot of hurt and betrayal and guilt that has been really fun to see how they respond to it. And they're both characters who want to one up each other. So they always are like trying to push each other, like to break. Those are some of my favorites, is when things get really intense and then one of them snaps.
Oh,
In a
that's
good or a bad way,
fantastic.
we don't
I
know.
love it. Oh my gosh, so much suspense. Well,
Yeah.
everyone should pick up We Become Darkness, March of 2026. She's a Pisces.
Yes. Yeah, actually, you're right.
Both of my sons are Pisces. That's how I
That's
know.
so funny.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's so funny. I'm an Aries, so that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
I'm an
Yeah.
Aries. Is that the moon sign? Yeah, because I'm a Cancer is my sun sign, and then my moon sign is Aries. So.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Aries sun, Aquarius moon, and then
Ooh.
Libra rising are
I'm an
my three. And
Aquarius rising.
okay. And then my husband actually is an Aquarius sun. So he and I have like opposite sun and moons. And
Oh, that's
apparently
so
that means
funny.
you're compatible, supposedly, air quotes.
Oh, well, that's
So
good.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Grace. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, please check out We Become Darkness if you like vampires and sexy stuff.
And thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Pros podcast, and remember to check back next Tuesday for a new episode.